One of the things that I really miss inside Maschine standalone is the sound of the EFM1, and this is an instrument inside Logic. And what I want to do is I want to get this so that I can take it and place it inside Maschine and play as if I've got this bass patch up. Now the default preset is a fantastic bass sound that's been used on so many tunes. This is what it sounds like. It's a classic FM bass sound, but it's been used on a lot of contemporary tunes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the steps to take this sound and get it so that we can play it inside Maschine. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to customize this a little bit. I want to make sure that the velocity level doesn't influence the FM sound, so I'm going to take it right down over here. Now that means that the sound is a little bit too twangy, got that real kind of FM character to it, so I'm going to reduce the FM depth up here. Now that sounded great, but actually what I want to do is I want to take the modulation envelope here and reduce the sustain level down. So it's a little bit more muted on that decay phase. So where it ends up is lower in terms of the actual kind of energy with that FM sound. If I bring this up, look. We hear more of those harmonics in the later portion of the sound. So if I bring this down. So obviously it'd be fantastic to have this level of flexibility within Maschine, but we can't, we need to get just a sound that we're going to use as a starting point and bring that through. So the settings that I've made there are going to be my kind of vanilla patch for this sound. And what I need to do is I need to actually record this into Logic, or actually paint the notes in intervals of octaves. So we're going to take C's. So we're going to put in there C4, C3, C2 and C1. And what we're going to do then is we're going to bounce these out, import them into Maschine, into the sampler, set up the key zones and get it so that we can actually save it as an instrument inside Maschine. So as you can see, I've painted in some MIDI notes. Let's have a listen. I didn't need to go too high here, so I was on C1 to start off with, C2, C3, C4, so these are octaves. And what we're going to do is we're going to bounce these out. So back in Maschine here, just going to double click my bounced audio file. And one of the things that I'm going to do is just over here on the hardware, I'm going to set polyphony to 1 and then also the envelope to ADSR. I'm going to push sampling. And now this is something that I actually prefer to do in the software, to be honest. And what I'm going to do is just set the endpoint over here. And you can see this stuff reflected in the hardware as well, but the next step particularly is something that I'd like to do on this screen. So just going to take this away. You can see the spanning of the zone here. So this is where the sample is placed on the keyboard. And to replicate the original bass sound, to allow me to play it up and down the keys in the right notes, I need to make sure this is spanning the same octave. So that was C1 and that's going up to C2 here. And what I'm going to do is just add the next zone. And notice as I move the mouse up and down, it adjusts the span. So it actually takes it to an octave span around this point. If you go to the top, it spreads across the whole keyboard, but just about here is perfect. So this is now spanning the next octave. But what I need to do is I need to go and make some changes here, because this is literally set up with the same start point as the previous one. So we just come along here. Let's just set this up. I'll fine tune this soon. I'm just doing it for speed. And so that's the second one. So C2. Let's just get this in again. So C3, place it around here for the octave span. Let's bring this up. Set that to the third one. And repeat the process again. So there we go, we've got the same sample mapped across as 4 separate zones, but with different start points. So I need to now just come in here and test it. So I'm going to push a pad mode, just set it onto keyboard. Let's take the octave down. You can see in the display here, it's triggering the correct part. Now that felt like a little bit of an incorrect jump to me. I'm just going to double check what's going on here. that feels like the wrong octave, doesn't it? Now, I wonder what I did wrong there. Let me just take a look. So C1. Did I change the root note? Let me just take a look at this. Look at that. Somehow the root note has changed. So always check your root key. So you noticed before that was spaced up here. So this is important to notice. And also bear in mind, you know, when you're making key zones, always double check that it's the right root key. Now that sample was originally created at C1. So the root key, which you can see down here, this also you're going to find over here. So you're going to take this down. And it needs to go to C1, so you can do it on the hardware, but you can see it's a little bit fiddly. So it's there. So let's have a listen again. So if we want to save this, what we need to do is to come over to this group A1 here, right click on this save with samples. You need to choose where it's going to go, okay, and this is in the groups folder in the user library. I'm going to basically set up a new folder called bass, and this is called EFM1 house bass. So that's going to save all of those files. And now what I want to do is go to my library and go to user, and then what we need to do is to find the groups, and there is the EFM house bass, and let me just tag this up. So we're going to get in there, bring this up, let's go to bass, and we say digital bass because it's an FM bass, and then we click on apply. So it's in my library folder here now, so I can access it at any point and put it into any tune.